March 31st, 2026. Karen sits down at her kitchen table with her accountant. Tax forms everywhere. She's been holding $150,000 in JEPI for 3 years, proud of that steady 8% monthly income. She thought she was doing it right. Her accountant circles a line on her 1099. Nearly every dollar she received last year is classified as ordinary income, not qualified dividends, not capital gains, ordinary income. At her 32% tax bracket, she's writing a check for over $3,000, money she already spent, money she thought she'd earned. Then her accountant says something. Did you know there's a new ETF paying almost double, and most of the distributions aren't taxed until you sell? I'll explain exactly what that means in a second. But first, understand this. When it comes to income ETFs, the headline yield is almost always the wrong number to look at first. Today, we're breaking down CAIE, the Calamos Autocallable Income ETF. It launched June 25th, 2025. It just crossed $1 billion in assets in under a year. It won Fund Innovation of the Year at the 2026 Mutual Fund and ETF Awards from S&P Global's With Intelligence. And it's using a strategy that until about 12 months ago was only accessible to institutional investors and high net worth clients. Here's what I want to answer for you today. What exactly is CAIE? How does it work? Is it actually better than JEPI? And what's the real risk? Because there always is one. Let's go. Start with what you probably already know. JEPI, the JP Morgan Equity Premium Income ETF, is a $44.6 billion fund. Monthly distributions, a current yield right around 8.2% as of early July 2026. For income investors, it's been the default answer for years, and honestly, it's earned that reputation. JEPI holds roughly 130 defensive large-cap stocks. It sells covered calls through equity-linked notes. It smooths volatility. Its 3-year annualized total return sits around 9.4%. That's real, consistent performance. But here's the number that doesn't show up on most comparison charts. About 83% of JEPI's distributions come from equity-linked note income. The IRS classifies that as ordinary income, taxed at your marginal rate, not capital gains rates, your marginal rate. So if you're in the 32% federal bracket, which kicks in for single filers around $197,000 in income, that 8.2% yield isn't really 8.2%. After federal taxes, you're closer to 5.5%. On a $150,000 position, that's nearly $4,000 per year quietly redirected to the government every year without showing up as a line item on your brokerage statement. JEPI's expense ratio is a very reasonable 0.35%, but the tax drag is the real cost, and almost nobody calculates it before buying. Now, on June 25th, 2025, Calamos Investments launched something genuinely different. The Calamos Autocallable Income ETF, ticker CAIE. As of April 30th, 2026, its distribution rate is 14.30%. It briefly hit 15.27% at the end of March. The monthly payout has been running approximately $0.32 per share, paid to investors every single month since launch. And as of early June 2026, the fund crossed $1 billion in assets, recording positive weekly inflows every single week since it opened. To put that in context, Kiplinger noted that for a new fund to reach even $600 million in its first year is rare. CAIE crossed $1 billion. This is not a niche fund anymore.
Here's the question you're probably asking. What is an autocallable and why does it pay so much? Think of a regular bond. A bond pays you interest because you're lending money to a company or government. The interest is based on their creditworthiness. An auto-callable note works differently. It pays you a high coupon not because of creditworthiness, but based on what the market is doing. Specifically, it keeps paying as long as the market doesn't fall hard below a defined barrier level. CAIE holds a laddered portfolio of at least 52 of these auto-callable notes. A new one added every single week. Each note has a 5-year lifespan. They're all linked to the Mercube US Large Cap Vol Advantage Autocallable Index, which tracks large cap US equities with a structured volatility target. As of June 8, 2026, the weighted average coupon across all of CAIE's notes sits at 13.98%. And here's a key metric to watch. the percentage of notes currently paying their coupons. Right now, that number is 100%. Every single note in the portfolio is generating income. Now, here's the crucial difference from JEPI. JEPI generates income by selling upside. When the S&P 500 runs hard, JEPI's covered calls get exercised, and the fund captures only part of that gain. You're permanently trading growth for yield. There's a ceiling. CAIE doesn't work that way. The income here comes from structured payoffs tied to whether the market stays within defined levels, not from surrendering upside in the same direct way. Different mechanics, different trade-offs. The tax story. This is where CAIE diverges from JEPI in a way that should genuinely make you stop and think. According to the most recent Form 19A-1 filing, the document funds must file to disclose distribution composition, approximately 95.5% of CAIE's most recent monthly distribution is classified as return of capital, not ordinary income, not capital gains, return of capital. In practical terms, those distributions are not taxed when you receive them. They reduce your cost basis instead. You only owe tax when you eventually sell the fund, and if you hold longer than a year, that eventual gain is taxed at the long-term capital gains rate, not your marginal income rate. Now, that's not a fair, complete comparison, because CAIE's deferred tax will come due eventually, but it illustrates why the 14 versus 8 comparison is more nuanced than it first looks, and why the tax structure matters more than most people realize.
CAIE is not a free lunch. Morningstar used exactly that phrase when they analyzed it. There are several risks you need to understand before putting money here. Risk 1, the expense ratio. CAIE charges 0.74% annually, more than double JEPI's 0.35%. On a large position, that gap compounds meaningfully over time. Risk 2, counterparty risk. CAIE doesn't technically own autocallable notes directly. It buys total return swaps with JP Morgan as the counterparty, which then mimic the return of the autocallable index. This creates counterparty exposure that doesn't exist in a straightforward equity ETF. Risk 3, the barrier breach scenario. This is the most important risk to understand. If the underlying index experiences a sharp and sustained decline, think global financial crisis territory when the S&P 500 fell 57% peak to trough, notes in CAIE's portfolio could breach their barrier levels. When that happens, coupon payments on affected notes stop until the index recovers above the barrier. In a severe, prolonged bear market, CAIE's income could drop meaningfully. The latter structure with 52+ notes helps. Any one market crash affects notes at different stages of maturity, but it doesn't eliminate the risk. Risk 4. Cost basis erosion. Because most distributions are classified as return of capital, your basis declines every month. Calamos estimates that at current pricing and distribution levels, your basis won't reach zero for at least the first 5 years. But after that point, further distributions would be taxed as capital gains in the year received. Still generally more favorable than ordinary income, but different from what you'd experience in year 1. Risk 5. Complexity. Autocallable yield notes are genuinely complex instruments. The Mercube index they track uses futures contracts to target a constant 35% annualized volatility on large-cap U.S. stocks, which means more leverage is applied in call markets and less in volatile ones. That's not intuitive. If you can't explain how it works to yourself, that's worth acknowledging before sizing a position. Here's how I think about CAIE versus JEPI given everything above. CAIE makes the most sense if you hold income ETFs in a taxable brokerage account and you're in a meaningful tax bracket, you're comfortable with complexity and want genuine structural differentiation from covered calls, you can position size it appropriately, not as a core holding but as a satellite piece of a broader income strategy. JEPI probably still wins if you hold inside a Roth IRA or tax-deferred account. The tax argument largely disappears there. You want simplicity, lower fees, and a longer performance track record. You're building a very large position where counterparty risk and complexity matter more. 3 metrics to watch if you own CAIE. Percentage of notes currently paying, want this at or near 100%. Weighted average coupon, currently tracking near 14%, you want this stable. Your adjusted cost basis. Understand how the ROC distributions are reducing it each month. Here's what I want you to carry out of this video. The income investing conversation almost always starts and ends at the headline yield. 8% sounds solid, 14% sounds almost too good. But the question that determines your actual outcome is simpler. What do you keep? JEPI is one of the most well-constructed income ETFs ever built. That's not an exaggeration. But if you're holding it in a taxable account, quietly returning a third of every distribution to the IRS, that's a cost that deserves a harder look. CAIE offers a structurally different approach, not just a higher number on a screen, but different tax mechanics, different risk exposures, and a different role in a portfolio. It won't suit every investor. The complexity is real, the tail risk is real, but for the right investor in the right account type, the math is genuinely worth running. Just remember, the investors who actually compound wealth over time aren't just chasing the biggest number, they're reading the whole sentence, including the part that comes after the asterisk.